Alright, so let's just have a very quick look at the Gateron Milky Yellow Pros. And what's really unique about this switch is the Milky housing. So these are the Milky housings. And what's unique about them is they're very, very muted. And they help to absorb sound like really well. And in terms of the stock lube, on the bottom housing, on the bottom pins, the bottom leaf, there's very, very little lubing. There's a tint of it. And on the side rails, not sure if you can see it, but even I can't see it, but it is there. It's just not visually seen. Now for the stems, this one is quite dry. So you can see the stems here. There's not a lot of lube that is very visible. So see here, you can see there's not a lot of sheen to it, but it is there, but it's just not a glob of lube. This is like super thin lubing. For the spring, you can't really see the lube either, but I just felt it with my fingers. It is there, but very lightly lube. So the thing with these Milky Yellows is that their lubing is very inconsistent between each other. Even with the same batch, some can sound really, really overlooped. Some are just nice and honestly perfect, and some could sound very dry. And the best way to sort of solve this is to just hand loop them yourselves. Yeah. But otherwise, it's quite a nice switch, especially for the price. Great. I hope you guys enjoyed the sound test, and now I just want to go through some of the notes and acoustics that I hear from this switch. So the Milky Yellow Pros, they are very muted and creamy sounding. That's perfect for ASMR or office builds. However, I feel it lacks depth with no follow through. So when you press the switches, it's not super apparent on this board, but on some of the boards you will see like there's only one layer of sound, i.e. there's not a lot of fullness to it when you bottom out. So it kind of makes it sound a bit one-dimensional in my eyes. There's also this wet sounding sound that, depending on how you look at it, can be a good or a bad thing, because in my eyes a wet sounding sound does funnel it more into the creamy side. It almost feels like there is a puddle at the bottom of the switch that you're actively pressing on. So I believe that's also why it leans more towards that creamy sort of sound. Moving into like the mats of this build, in terms of sound, in terms of loudness, it's quite quiet. It's around 50 decibels. It's more of a conversation type of sound. That's the level of sound that you're gonna get. In terms of pitch, it is more of a creamy sound. Depending on the board, it can be talky as well, but I feel first and foremost it's mostly a creamy switch. I will be doing some frequency tests moving forward, even this one, but I feel like with just one switch there isn't much comparison to do. But yeah, it's a creamy sort of switch. Now, moving into the feel of this switch, very smooth once you hand loop them. However, I will say that the springs feel way heavier than what it's rated for. And moving on to the stem wobble. So you have quite a bit of stem wobble on the north-south side, but not so much on the east-west. You press it down. It's still not too bad, all things considered, even if you press it fully down. And if we put keycaps on, overall it's not too bad. So I don't think you need to film them. It's fine just as it is. Right. So moving into the RGB, as you can see here, it has good RGB. There's no tinting, there's no coloring of the light. It carries out the light pretty well, and that's all without a diffuser. Now, it's because it's a translucent whitish sort of housing, which is why light shines very well. So pretty good switch if you're going for a RGB build. Now, what is my final verdict? I feel like it's still a very good budget switch for beginners looking for a creamy profile or slightly leaning to talky. However, its full potential is only unlocked after you hand loop these switches to get rid of any inconsistencies, or just pray that you get a good enough batch that you don't have to do it. However, I feel like unless you're going for like a hyper budget build, I'd rather pay slightly more for a better stock and better sounding switches from, let's say, like HMX or Keygeek, because this one costs about, depending on where you are, maybe 85 to 90 cents in ringgit, or that's around like 23 US cents. Whereas if you increase it by a little bit, maybe in the 30 US cents range, you can get a good HMX or Keygeek switch. And I think that's what I feel like. Unless you're going for a hyper budget, these don't really stand out anymore in 2026. But yeah, that's my summary. Let me know how you guys feel about these switch reviews. Maybe what I can add or what I can trim. My goal is to have a very short, condensed review across many boards, just to give you a taste and give you some narratives on the tasting notes. So leave a comment, and until next time, peace.